Okay, so here's the first example. Let's consider a line passing through -1, 4 and 2, 1. So find the equation of the line in A, slope-intercept form, B, point-slope form. As I mentioned last time, regardless of the form that we are looking at, we need to have two things. We need two quantities. We need either 2 points through which the line passes, or we have a point and a slope. If we don't have at least those two quantities that I mentioned, then we cannot find the equation of the line. So we have 2 points. So I'm going to use the slope-intercept form. I'm going to use the points to find the slope-intercept form. It really doesn't matter as to which point is x1, y1 and which point is x2, y2. It is a matter of choice. I tend to write the very first point as x1, y1 and the second one as x2, y2. So for the slope-intercept form, the very first step is to find the slope. So the slope m is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So y2 is 1 and y1 is 4. So we have 1 minus 4 in the numerator. x2 is 2 and x1 is -1. So 2 minus of -1. So we'll have 1 minus 4, which is -3, divided by 2 minus of -1, we'd have +3. And -3 divided by +3 is simply -1. And the slope is negative, so this line is decreasing. In other words, it is slanting downward. So since we are looking at the slope-intercept form, we have y equals mx plus b. That is the slope-intercept form of the line. And we found the slope. So I'm going to take that slope and plug it in here in my general structure of a slope-intercept form. So y would now equal to -1 multiplied by x plus b. And as you can see, since I have a negative number, I immediately put parentheses around that negative number. So now we have to solve for b. So to solve for b, you can either pick the first point or the second point. It doesn't matter. The answer will be the same. So I'm going to pick the second one because I don't see any negative signs. So the second point is 2, 1. So for y, I'm going to plug in 1. And for x, I'm going to plug in 2. So 1 would equal to -1 times 2 plus b. So 1 would equal to -2 plus b. And if I move the 2 to the other side, b would equal to 1 plus 2. I get 3. So the slope-intercept form is y equal to negative x plus 3. So the next part is point slope form. So we know the form, which is simply y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. And I know the point x1, y1. Now keep in mind, as I mentioned earlier, since we can pick whichever point we want as x1, y1, it really doesn't matter whether you plug in x2, y2 or x1, y1 in this general formula that we have. So I'm going to stick to what I chose as x1 and y1, which would be -1, 4. So y1 is 4, so y minus 4 is equal to m times x minus of -1. So y minus 4 is equal to m, the slope, which is -1. -1 times x. -1 times -1 is +1. Now I'm going to, if I distribute it and simplify it, I'm going to get back to the slope-intercept form, but I want to leave it as is. So in point slope form, so I can write it as y minus 4 is equal to -1 multiplied by x plus 1. And that would be the point slope form of the line. I could take this point slope form and do some algebra, and you will see that I can get back to the slope-intercept form, as I mentioned earlier or last time. So y minus 4 would equal to -1 entire and multiplied by x plus 1. I'm going to distribute the negative, so I will have minus x. -1 times 1 is -1, which would mean y minus 4 is equal to minus x minus 1. Now, if I add 4 to both sides, in other words, I'm moving that -4 from the left-hand side and take it over to the right-hand side. So minus x minus 1 plus 4. So y would equal to minus x. 4 minus 1 is +3. And you can say that is exactly what we had earlier. So it is always easy to take the point slope form and convert it to the slope intercept form. So that's why I mentioned that I tend to always, go with the point slope form. But it is, once again, a matter of choice. So here we have 2 points, 1, 4, and -3, -1. So the first step, of course, is to find the slope. The slope m, is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So we have -1 minus 4 divided by -3 minus 1. So -1 minus 4 is -5. -3 minus 1 is -4. And always, if you can get rid of the negative sign, get rid of it. So don't keep that around. So m would be equal to 5/4. We know what the slope-intercept form is. So y would equal to m times x plus b. And I'm going to replace the value of m. And you can see that I am putting it within parentheses. But my golden rule of thumb is if you have a power, or if you have a fraction, or if you have a negative number, it's always better to put them inside parentheses. This way you wouldn't be making mistakes. So I have 5 over 4x plus b equals y. We have to solve for b. x1 is 1 and y1 is 4. So I'm going to take that point. So when x is 1, y is 4. And I can solve for b. So 4 would equal to 5 over 4 plus b, which would mean 4 minus 5 over 4 would equal b. And I need to have a common denominator, which in this case is 4. I have 4 over 1, and the common denominator between 1 and 4 is 4. So I'm going to multiply the first term and divide the first term by 4. So I would have 4 times 4, 16 in the numerator, divided by 4 minus 5 over 4. I have a common denominator now, which would imply b is equal to the common denominator 4, 16 minus 5. 16 minus 5 is 11, so b is 11 divided by 4. So we have the y-intercept, we have the slope, so y would be equal to 5 over 4x plus 11 over 4. And I could rewrite this as 5x over 4 plus 11 over 4, multiplying 5 with x. And you can see there is a common denominator. So I could put 4 in the bottom and combine the numerators. So the answer is 5x plus 11 by 4. I can also write this as 1 over 4 multiplied by 5x plus 11. They are one and the same. The second way is nicer compared to the first approach. Now, could you leave the answer in this form? Yes, you absolutely can, but we prefer this form because it is nice and it's factored. Point slope form. So let's see, I have y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And y minus y1 is 4. M is 5 over 4, which is right over here that we found. So we're going to take that 5 over 4. It's a fraction. So I'm going to put parentheses, multiplied by x minus x1, which is 1. Now, in the previous problem, I took the point slope form. I went back and rewrote it in the slope intercept form. I did that to demonstrate that it is possible to go from point slope form to slope intercept form. If a problem simply asks for point slope form, you don't have to convert it to slope intercept form. Just leave it as point slope form. And now we have 2 points, 1, 4 and -2, -5. And we want to put it in slope intercept form or point slope form. So first step is to find the slope as always. So y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So -5 y2 minus y1. Am I doing the right one? Yes. divided by x2 minus x1. So I have -5, -4, which is -9, divided by -2 and -1, which is -3. The negatives go away, and 9/3 is simply 3. So we know that the slope is 3. So y is equal to mx plus b is the slope intercept form. And if I plug in the slope, which is 3, and one of the points, you can either pick 1, 4, or you can pick -2, -5. It is entirely a matter of choice. I am going to pick 1, 4. So when x is 1, y is 4 plus b. So 4 would equal to 3 plus b, which would imply b is 4 minus 3. So we get 1. So the equation is y equals mx plus b, so 3x plus 1. That is the slope-intercept form. Point-slope form is quite easy. All we have to do is put it in this form, y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. y1 is 4, so I'm putting 4 for y1. M is 3, we found that earlier, so 3 multiplied by x minus x1, which is 1. And that is the slope, point slope form. Now, is that the only possible answer? Technically not, or technically no. So instead of y1, I could plug in y2. So if I change y1 to y2, I have to change x1 to x2. So y2 is minus 5. The slope doesn't change, so 3 multiplied by x2 is minus 2. So we would have y plus 5 minus times minus 5 is positive 5 equals 3x minus times minus 2 is plus 2. This answer and that answer don't look the same, but both of them are acceptable. So how do you know you got the right answer? You can take either of those equations and try to write it in slope-intercept form, and it will definitely match up to y equals 3x plus 1. So here we have 2 points, -2, 9, and 1, -6. We want to write it in slope-intercept form, so you can either pick the first point or the second to find, to find the point-slope form. But regardless, we have to find the slope. So the slope is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. y2 is minus 6, y1 is 9, so we have minus 9, divided by x2 is 1, and x1 is minus 2, so we have minus of minus 2, which would give us -15 over positive 3. And that is simply -5. Now y is equal to mx plus b, so y would equal to -5x plus b. We want to solve for b. We know that we can pick either of those 2 points. Well, in this problem, it doesn't matter. Both of them are of the same difficulty. So I'll just pick the first one. X is -2 and y is 9. So when x is -2, y is 9. So B would be equal to 9. Move the -2 to the other side, we will get 10, which will give us 19. So we have the slope to be -5 and the intercept, to be 19. So the slope intercept form is y equals -5x plus 19. I'm glad I made this mistake. So we have -5, -2. When you multiply, you have +10. So this is actually 9 equals +10 plus b, which would imply 9 minus 10 equals b, and b is -1. So the slope intercept form is y equals -5m times x minus 1. You can take the negative out and write it as -5x plus 1. It's a nicer way of writing it. The point slope form is easy. So I'm going to pick the first point. So y minus 9 is equal to the slope, which is -5 multiplied by x minus x1 minus 2. So y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. So y minus 9 is equal to -5 multiplied by x. Negative of -2 is +2. So one of you made that mistake of getting 19, and you saw how I got that 19 because I forgot to change the sign. You can always verify your answer. If you take both of those points, plug in the x value, you need to get the corresponding y value. Now that's how I caught my mistake. So I went up and I plugged in -2 for x. I did not get 9. I got 38 in my head when I calculated, which implies I made a mistake. And that's how I caught my mistake. So that is an acceptable point slope form. And as I mentioned, I could also have y minus of -6. If I use the second point, y2, -5 is the slope, x minus 1. So in this case, I'm using y minus y2 equals x minus x2 times m. And both of them are acceptable. So the answer would be y plus 6 is equal to -5 times x minus 1. It is not recommended to do both, but on an exam, say you use the first approach and you don't see that option as an answer, then it simply tells you that you have to use the other point to get the point slope form. But there is no need to find both of them. And also keep in mind, both of those equations, if you rewrite it, it is going to result in what we found as the slope intercept form, y equals -5x minus 1. Okay, so we have 2 points, 1,1/2 and 4,7/4. So first step is to find the slope. M is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. y2 is 7/4. y1 is 1/2. The entire thing gets divided by x2, 4, minus x1, 1. We want to combine 7 over 4 and 1 over 2, which would mean the common denominator has to be 4. So what we will do is multiply the second fraction by 2 and divide by 2. The denominator is easy, it's just 3. So we will get 7 over 4 minus 2 over 4, entire thing divided by 3. So the common denominator is 4, and 7 minus 2, divide the entire numerator by 3. 7 minus 2 is 5, so 5 over 4 divided by 3. But we know 3 is just 3 over 1, and then we flip and multiply, so 5 over 4 times 1 over 3. Take the numerator and flip the denominator, multiply it to the numerator. So 5 times 1 is 5, and 4 times 3 is 12. So the slope is 5 over 12. The intercept, b, is what we need to find. So y is equal to mx plus b. So I'm plugging in the value of m. So y is 1 over 2 when x is 1. This would mean 1/2 is equal to 5 over 12 plus b, which would also mean 1/2 minus 5 over 12 is equal to b. The common denominator now would be 12. So I multiply and divide the first fraction by 6. So 1 over 2 times 6 over 6 minus 5 over 12 equals b, which would give us 6 over 12 minus 5 over 12 equal to b. Therefore, b, the common denominator is 2. Combine the numerators, 6 minus 5. So we will get 1 over 12. So b is 1 over 12. So the slope-intercept form is y equals slope 5 over 12 times x plus 1 over 12. Now, we have a common denominator of 12. In other words, I can write it this way, and you can recognize that there is a common denominator. So we will have 5x plus 1 and the entire combined numerator divided by the common denominator. So y would then be 1 over 12 multiplied by 5x plus 1. So here is an easier way to check your answer if you're doing the fractions properly. If you get a fraction where, say, just like here, 12 in the denominator, the intercept must also have 12 in the denominator. And you should be able to combine in this step like we did over here, and you should be able to pull out that common 1 over 12. So for instance, if you have the slope as 5 over 9, the intercept is some number with 9 in the denominator. It could be 7 over 9, it could be 10 over 9, it could be 18 over 9. But if you end up getting 1 over 7, then the answer is wrong, because you have slope as 5 over 9 and 9 is in the denominator. So you cannot have 7 in the denominator for b. So that is an easier way to check if you did the calculations correctly. Now we can move on to the point slope form. I'm simply going to pick the first point, which is 1 comma half. So y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. Y minus 1/2 is equal to 1 over, 5 over 12 multiplied by x minus 1.